Thank you, TechStrong team, for all your assistance in coordinating today's session. We're very excited to be here. Now, for everyone, good morning or afternoon. And again, thank you for joining us for today's session, How Experts Accelerate Delivery and Eliminate Test Environment Challenges. We've got a great panel discussion ahead featuring leaders from Valera and ING Mortgages, who've both tackled some serious testing and environmental hurdles to achieve success. From managing hundreds of APIs and third-party dependencies at Valera to transforming complex integrated environments at ING, our panelists and their teams have leveraged service virtualization to boost quality and reduce their testing delays. In this session, they're going to share with us some real-world experiences, lessons learned, and really what made the biggest impact for them on speed, stability, and collaboration across their organization. So with that, let's get started. I'm happy to introduce our panelists.
So greetings everyone. My name is Hirakant Sheet and I work at Valera, which is a fintech company serving credit unions and community banking industry, primarily in the US and some customers based out of Canada. Valera provides a powerful suite of interoperable solutions that empowers credit unions and community banks to drive digital transformation and essentially bringing the fintech revolution to their doorsteps. In essence, big banks, because they are big, have the capital and the scale to deliver cutting edge technology and solutions to their customer base. Similarly, Valera, because it works with the majority of the credit unions and with some community banks, we are able to build that similar scale in terms of capital, technology, assets, expertise, and it allows us to provide a similar or even better solution set to our customers, that is financial institutions, which then cascades down to their customer base. Now, I don't want to get into all of the solutions, but if you heard about shared branching, digital enablement, business cards, buy now, pay later, secure transaction processing, ATM network, credit debit processing, loan originations, things like that. This is where Valera brings the solutions to the doorsteps of credit unions and community banks. And I am primarily responsible for the API delivery teams, that platform where Valera follows API first approach and delivers business capabilities as APIs, which are then consumed internally by our software as a service applications and by our partners and financial institutions and their vendors. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Hirakant. I'm really excited to hear about how you've been able to unblock testing in such an integrated environment. And you've clearly managed a lot of APIs under the hood of your application. So I'm looking forward to your insights there as well. Again, it's great to have you. Now, let's turn to Marcel. I'm very pleased to introduce Marcel Denise, a DevOps engineer at ING Mortgages. Marcel, would you tell us a little bit about your role and what your team focuses on?
Yes. Hello. So, Marcel Denijs, I'm at ING Mortgages in the Netherlands. We are operating from Amsterdam. And I'm a DevOps engineer in a team where we make the mortgage application keep operating. The application in goes a mortgage request and out goes a mortgage contract and a transferring of money. That is the process. But in between, there is a workflow process with many business rules for law and legislation, and of course, identification of the contractors and their credibility, and also all kind of checks. So in the end, there is a contract that is 100% correct, contains all the correct details. So that is the process. It is a financial process, so there is money involved. All these contracts have to be 100% accurate, and that requires a lot of testing effort at our end. And ING is has a growing market share, and we are trying to improve our processes to support this growth. And together with my team, we have a 2 weekly software release of the mortgage application, and we are responsible for the operations, keep the application up and running, installing software, testing in it, and deploying to production. So that's about it, what we do.
Thank you, Marcel. It's great to have you with us today. And thank you for joining us to share your experiences and your success. I know I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jamie Motherall. I'm a functional testing specialist and product marketing manager here at Parasoft. For today, I'll be moderating our discussion. To start, let's set the stage and look back at what things were like before you adopted service virtualization. Every team hits testing bottlenecks at some point, whether it's waiting on third-party systems, dealing with limited data, or managing complex integrations. When you don't have full control of your environment, everything tends to slow down. So Hirakan, let's start with you. How did dependencies on third-party systems or legacy infrastructure impact your development cycles, your test coverage, or your release timelines? And maybe you could tell us, are there any specific pain points that led you to start looking for a solution?
Absolutely, it will be my pleasure. So, as I mentioned in my opening statement, Valera is a fintech company. We serve credit unions and community banks. And as part of providing them solutions, we integrate with a lot of other fintechs to provide that value to our customers, right? And our software delivery cycle is very dependent, hugely dependent on this, um, third-party data providers or other fintech companies who expose their APIs. And so as part of that software delivery, their APIs or that data has to be available to us in the lower environments. Now, we all know that non-production environments are not held to the same SLAs as the production environment would be. So as a result of this, it has a direct impact on delivery dates, project cost, timelines. In fact, I recall there have been many cases where if we have been delayed by over a month or more, and this has a very cascading impact upstream to people who are dependent on the APIs that my team builds. And so all of this, in terms of the development time, testing time, cost, quality, there's a huge impact. Now you asked me for some specific examples. I have a few. So testing in production. Have you guys heard testing in production? I'm sure you have, right? So imagine you're rolling out a new version of APIs that are used by a major customer service department, solution. That is in turn used by our hundreds of financial institutions. Now you have done all the testing you possibly can with using the test environments available to you. But this test environments may not necessarily have all the customizations that the individual FIs might have done on their banking course. And so what do you expect when you hit production? Well, you expect a lot of defects and an elongated rollout to the financial institutions. So what could potentially be done maybe over a 1 or 2 months time if you had service virtualization? And again, this is hindsight. It could nearly take a year to do the migration, which in our case it did. It took year and a half. There are other examples, right? Failed builds. Imagine as part of enhancing your DevOps process, you implement measures to get metrics on code quality, like static code analysis and code coverage. And you set the code quality gate such that if the coverage is not at a level that you want, in our case it was 80%, the build fails. And in our case, the build always failed because code coverage could not go beyond 30-40% in certain cases because we could not create all the scenarios in our test environments. And limited performance testing. We had a flagship software as a service solution that was used across our entire customer base. A highly sensitive item. And so you're rolling out a major platform upgrade. I mean, in this case, Beware, with an enhanced look and feel. However, because of the limitations imposed by our, third-party data provider, we could not do performance testing using their environment. And so you roll out to production, you get hit with performance issues. And we had to roll back and fix those issues and then come up with another rollout plan. Now, this were, I would say, the primary items that forced us to look at a better way of doing things.
Very interesting. Thank you, Hirikant. That really highlights the struggle that comes with managing a complex set of APIs, third-party dependencies, how it can lead to those downstream delays when it comes to releases. So really great insights there. Marcel, turning on over to you, let's have you share a little bit of your experiences, because ING Mortgage, you deal with a very highly integrated environment as well. It has its own set of dependencies. So can you share with us, what did those environment challenges look like for your team?
Yes, it sounds familiar, what was said before. We also have great challenges in the area of availability of test environments and the data that is inside. Also, we are in an agile working environment where other teams, the owners of the APIs, are constantly changing their versions, and it takes a lot of effort to align with all the teams to have the acceptance environment in a specific setup so we can do our testing. So to become free of that, we have introduced service virtualization and become owner of those APIs, and we manage at what version level they are. And that made us much more independent, and that has reduced the testing cycle enormously. And also for the data, our mortgage application is a third-party software, so we don't do our own development there. So during testing, we have to treat it like a black box. We cannot look inside, and this black box has to be connected to all the interfaces that it relies on. And to make it worse, it's very state dependent. So we cannot test individual interfaces. We have to test it as a whole and see how the workflow inside the mortgage application handles all these interactions. So that took quite some effort to create the virtual services that accommodate our testing. But now we have since we are owner of the data, we can make sure that all our test cases, our scenarios are covered with the test data. And our regression test has now a much higher code coverage than before. So that made our life much easier, and I'm much more confident that our software releases will succeed.
That's very exciting, Marcel, and thank you for walking us through that. It's clear from both what you and Hirikant said, that your comments, you've both faced very real world testing constraints, from shared environments to limited access to components, challenges running end-to-end tests across complex systems. Hirikant, I'd love to start with you to hear a little bit about your adoption journey, because you were a part of the process of introducing service virtualization to your team. So maybe you can share a little bit with how they responded, and then how did service virtualization change the way your teams work on a day-to-day basis?
So yes, so service virtualization as a concept was kind of new to Valera as an organization. And the pain points that I just mentioned a little bit ago, were the drivers, or that was something that allowed me to push this concept, into Valera. Now, how did I, come across, Parasoft Virtualize? It was actually, believe it or not, Google search, right? Google.com. That's where the search started. Now we did use SmartBear, which I think in some ways is a competitor to Parasoft. We use the Ready API product, so we kind of had a knowledge about the concept wise. But then, as is usual, I did reach out to multiple other providers, including IBM, Traffic Parrot, and others. Now, what essentially drove me to Parasoft was the protocols that it supported, right? All the major protocols that we needed, HTTP, TCP/IP, MQ, databases, everything was supported, and we were allowed to do that POC within our environment before we bought the product. And the product documentation was quite extensive. The support that was provided was fantastic. And again, I cannot thank the Parasoft team enough, on providing that support and helping me on board the service virtualization concept and service Parasoft's virtualized product into the organization.
Thank you for sharing that, Hirikant. I love how you went into detail about what your success criteria was, as well as your POC process. It's so important that you really get your hands on the tool, you experiment with them within your own environment with your use cases to just ensure that that solution is going to meet all of your team's technical needs. Now, Marcel, let's turn to you. Since ING already had service virtualization in place when you joined, how has it influenced your team's approach to testing, collaboration, and managing those environment challenges that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, indeed. It was just before I joined the team that the first virtualizations were already built. And Parasoft was already longer within ING, but around 2020, the mortgages department also adopted Parasoft. And for myself, in the past, I worked with similar products for virtualization. And when I first came across Parasoft, I felt pretty surprised. It felt very comfortable. I recognized it. It was intuitive, and it has a rich tool set compared to what I worked with before. It's for us. It covers all our needs. And it's easy to use also with fellow colleagues, that they also understand how things are working and that they can make their own modifications. Yeah, pretty excited about that. What's more to say? Yeah, the way we interact with each other is that now within the virtual service, the functionality is enclosed in the virtual service. So if you look at it together with a business analyst, you recognize the data that is in there, how the functionality works. So you have a good understanding how everything works, and you can have a good prediction on how your tests will work out. For example, when we develop APIs, we need to go to a next release. We can already do a experimental phase where we just fit in the new elements, for example, and then see how our mortgage application is responding to those new elements. So yeah, that is also a benefit in the throughput time of your development cycle. We can go faster with it.
Thank you for that breakdown, Marcel. It's great to see how experimenting early with service virtualization really helped you to speed things up, helped you to shift left and unblock the testing teams, giving you more control over when and how you test.
All right, now let's talk a little bit further about the results. You guys started to dig into this a little bit in our last section, but I know this is what everyone is really curious about. What was the overall kind of impact since introducing service virtualization? So what has been the most noticeable impact on speed, quality, and confidence in your releases? Hirakan, let's start off with you.
Absolutely. All right. So yes, we did cover a little bit in the previous section here. So the main thing that comes to my mind is code coverage, right? So exceeding that 80% limit, um, that was the main blocker before we introduced service virtualization. But now after service virtualization, there is no more apprehension. In fact, I don't get any more requests for exceptions because creating virtual assets is baked in. When dealing with third-party integrations, and more so, when we are doing parallel design activity with third-party, API providers, we are able to, believe it or not, compress the time frame. So before service virtualization, it would be okay, wait for, make sure that we arrive at a design for how we are going to interact with that third party, because in some cases, they have to do some development as well, finalize the interface, wait for them to, make things available in their lower environments, and then start our test, design or development and testing, and then move on through the higher environments. Now, there are multiple examples, by the way, card origination solutions, cardholder documents. So all of these are solutions that we provided to our consumers. We had to do parallel development, work alongside the third party to create that design. And we were in the lower environments before even they were complete, and we could do some level of integration with our applications using the APIs which were connected to the virtual assets. And we had a high degree of confidence that, okay, we know, generally speaking, because we have agreed on the contract, the interface, things are going to work. And then you do basic minimal testing after the third party makes their test environments available. And I want to say that in terms of impact, besides code coverage, something that would have taken, let's say, 1 year for this project to complete end to end, because of service virtualization, we have been able to do that, I want to say, within 3 to 4 months. So that's a huge impact.
Huge.
It's exciting to hear about the impact on code coverage. Getting past that 80% threshold, reducing your timeline from a year to just a few months when it comes down to releases is really impressive. Thank you for sharing those insights. Now, let's turn on over to Marcel. Let's talk about ING. Since implementing service virtualization, what overall business impact have you seen, and how has it benefited your teams?
Yes. Well, within ING, our goal is to have a agile way of working, and we increased the release cycle from 1 month to 2 weeks. Just do it faster, do it more often, but that requires the proper tooling to make that happening. So very important elements are an Azure release pipeline, a good regression test set, which is tightly coupled to a Parasoft virtualization. And that together has sped up our release cycle, but also significantly improved the quality of the releases. In terms of business production interruptions, that has gone down drastically. It's a bit difficult to give exact numbers and into which content it's on the Parasoft behalf that we made that improvement, but it's the combined as a whole that improved the quality. And I think, yeah, we went down to one interruption a year, and before we had multiple little oopsie moments. So yeah, we are much better in control now. And also before we had quite some manual testing, and that is now replaced with solid regression cases in combination with virtual services. So we also now can more rely on the code quality, and we also detect in an early stage.
Can I add something to what Marcel said, maybe, if I can?
Please.
All right, thank you. So Marcel just reminded me, about Agile, and we also use Agile within Valera, and we've kind of started on a strict Agile mode in the past year or so. So self-contained teams, I think something that Marcel implied in what he said, right? So within Valera, as we moved on to a more strict Agile mode, we have been working towards self-contained teams so that there is no cross dependency. So previously, we had to have somebody else manage the environment, test data, and stuff like that. Now with virtual assets, there is no more waiting for some other team. The team that is given the work, they are the one who creates the virtual assets as they need them, or reuse existing ones. They take care of that. There is no waiting on some other team to do test data setup, test environment setup, and all of that. In fact, for APIs, right, the API platform, it has to be upgraded on a maybe a 6-month or a yearly basis, and there is a huge regression test suite that needs to be run. Without virtualization, it would be a huge effort to set up the test environment and then do the testing. In some cases, you have to repeat the testing. Now, what we have done is we have coupled service virtualization with test automation framework, and we kind of have that. For those in the US, Staples has that big red easy button. So testing is as simple as, or nearly as simple as, pushing that red button and saying do a regression test, and it will regression test using the automation framework coupled with virtual assets. And basically, something that would take days or even months is a matter of minutes or hours. So that is really, really impactful.
Yeah. Thank you for chiming in there too. Both of you have made great points kind of connecting it to how service virtualization has enabled you to keep pace with agile development, with those rapid sprint releases, especially in the parallel development kind of infrastructure and world that you guys are in. So really, really impactful to see. All right, we've got a couple other topics I want to get to before we wrap up. So let's switch gears here a little bit. AI is starting to play a big role in many areas of testing. As you guys know, Parasoft just recently released our new AI capabilities to generate virtual services through natural language instructions. Now, we just released this, so I know your teams haven't yet had a chance to implement this. You haven't had time yet to really get your hands on it and start using it within your team. But I know you've seen the short demo of the Parasoft Virtualized AI Assistant. So I'd love to just hear from you a little bit about what excites you when it comes down to AI and how AI might impact your future use of service virtualization, as well as just AI overall in your testing practices. So keeping with tradition, Hirokant, let's start with you.
All right. So AI has brought in a lot of excitement, right? I mean, you hear that every day in every conversation. In fact, I get a lot of ads about AI as I'm listening to other videos and stuff like that. And and AI has definitely made inroads in software development as well, testing being one of them. As far as the what Parasoft provides. I did, get a demo from the Parasoft team, and I'm very excited to see that Parasoft has, started looking into AI and has even delivered a tool that we can use. We haven't yet started on the adoption yet, but we are very excited to, look into it. Now, as far as Valera is concerned, we are still exploring the best ways to introduce or include AI-based software development, especially in testing. I do see a big need, a big help in terms of being able to create test cases, feed in the requirements and outcomes, the test cases, and maybe in sometime in the near future, actually do the testing as well. Of course, we are not there yet, but I'm very, very excited about the AI technology and where it can take us in terms of software development.
Yeah. Everything's getting much more autonomous as this industry continues to innovate. And as you said, right now AI is helping teams to go from kind of the requirements to having a test asset. So both test creation and then, for instance, with the new AI assistant for Parasoft Virtualized, being able to go from just requirement description to having an actual fully working virtual service that your teams can test against. All of this is very powerful, especially when it comes down to just thinking about how much easier it's going to be to adopt and scale certain technologies across teams. Marcel, I want to turn on over to you next. So again, tell us a little bit about your perspective on AI and how you see AI in service virtualization potentially changing your future practices.
Yes. Last month, I joined a Parasoft customers event where we had a quick demo on AI and about the LLM possibility in Virtualize. It looks very promising, and in general, I think AI can make our work easier and faster. I'm not having the skills yet or the knowledge to understand exactly what I'm doing. My personal doubt is, how do I know that what AI generated is correct? Is that what I want? But I trust that there's so much technology that they can optimize it. And for ING, in our department, we have several tracks of AI to try to improve the business process. So that's in the production business area. But in our in our DevOps environment, we could also try to make use of AI. So I will, or we will have a look at that in the next coming months.
Maybe in next year, we'll be sitting down and having another discussion with you both where we're talking a little bit more about the AI side and how your teams might be working with it.
Now, on that fun note, I'm sure we have a number of questions in the Q&A box. So if you haven't yet put your questions in, please make sure you do.
But first off, I again want to thank Hiracant, Marcel, for sharing your insights and your experiences today. It's been fantastic to hear how both of your teams are using service virtualization, how you've overcome those test environment challenges, how you've been able to accelerate your deliveries, reduce disruption when it comes down to your customers, and really elevate your quality, both with increasing code coverage and again, reducing the number of defects that are actually slipping into production.